Hi everyone, my name is Joy and I'm the president of HKU Campus Toastmasters. And today we have Mr. Donald Yee, who is a champion of our District 89 International Speech Contest and the Evaluation Speech Contest. So today we're here with Donald to talk about speech tips and his experience winning the International Speech Contest of our district. So Donald, maybe we could start out by you sharing your experience at Toastmasters?
Sure. I started Toastmasters around 20 years ago, and I was attracted, or rather I was asked to join a meeting by one of my relatives who happened to be visiting one of the local clubs, which is the Hong Kong Achievers Toastmasters Club. So the very first time I sat in the meeting, I fell in love with Toastmasters. Just the way they run the meetings and the people and how structured it was. And I fell in love with Toastmasters, and I've never looked back since. I've maintained my membership with the Hong Kong Achievers ever since that day, and I'm still a happy member there. Yeah.
That's nice. So when you first came to Toastmasters, what were your goals in public speaking or leadership?
Right. It was very much to improve my communication skills because with an engineering background and working as an engineer, there weren't that many opportunities or chances to present, and I knew going forward is a very important skill set. So when I joined Toastmasters, it was very much trying to seek a platform where I can experiment and also I can learn from other people on how to improve my presentation skills.
I know not everybody got to watch the contest live, so maybe you could tell us about your contest speech and how you came up with this topic for your speech?
Sure. I think in terms of contest experience, some of you may have heard of the 10,000 hour rule. It's very true because the amount of time you prepare for a contest, not just for the contest this year, but for all the previous contests that I've taken part in. And it's very much a case of forcing yourself to prepare for the contest, starting with getting the ideas for the contest speech, writing the speech itself, the script, and then putting in the body language, vocal variety, rehearsing, getting feedback, and then revising the speech. So there was a lot of repetitive work associated with each and every single contest speech. I guess what I can say is the older I got, there's a saying where I heard before where they always say, give a speech from your heart. I didn't quite understand that when I started the contest journey many years ago. I thought it was about seeking the most effective approach on developing a script that would resonate with the audience. So I was coming from the position of trying to develop the best speech, regardless of whether it resonated with myself, and trying to get the buy-in from the audience. But as I got older, I found that it's very hard to carry forth and believe in yourself in delivering a speech with sincerity when that content didn't really come from yourself. So the older I got, so particularly for this year and last year, I was thinking of something I really wanted to tell from the bottom of my heart, be it from my own personal experience or from what I've observed in others. So that's where I got the inspiration from. It's really a message that I've kept where I really wanted to tell the audience, and I wholeheartedly believed in the message I was delivering, as well as the content in building up for the message and all that. So giving a speech from my heart, that was the most important thing for me in terms of finding the ideas and topic for the speech.
That's nice. So I remember your speech talked about the importance of not judging people by their looks.
Right.
So could you share more about your experience when you traveled overseas and how you thought, this is the story I'm going to use?
Yeah, good question. I guess it's an accumulation of experiences that I've encountered because I've studied in Australia. So obviously I've been part of a race which was not the majority within the country itself. But that being said, I didn't really experience too much racial discrimination at all. So that wasn't the backbone or the inspiration for my speech, but rather over the past few years, I've moved across different industries and professions. And because coming from an engineering background and then moving into public relations, public affairs background, corporate communications, and then in HR as well as now in leadership and development, so training, I found that a lot of people would tend to focus a lot on, which company you work for, what position you held, the kind of experience, as opposed to looking at the skill sets of the individual. So I found that was very important for me to be able to be given an opportunity to be able to do my job well, regardless of what I look like, how I speak, how I dress. And I found that's a very important concept, and I guess a very important mindset that people need to adopt so that they don't have any biases or any prejudice at the onset of meeting somebody.
So since you joined Toastmasters about 20 years ago, you must have experienced many contests in person. How was your experience different with an online contest?
Right. I mean, if you were going to tell me that 20 years down the road when I first joined, there's going to be an online contest, first of all, I wouldn't even know what that meant, technology-wise. But yeah, it's very much when you're actually in the contest mode or the setting and you're on the stage, there's a certain buzz that you get when you deliver a speech that resonates with the audience and a speech that you wholeheartedly believe in. And that's the thrill of actually delivering a speech to a live audience on the stage. And the bigger the audience, the bigger the buzz. But this year is very different, because this year, even though you know that there will be people watching, but you're still talking to a laptop, a camera lens, which is fixed to a laptop. So I had to adjust, particularly eye contact, as well as knowing that whilst you don't get the audience response when you deliver certain punchlines, whereas if you deliver to a live audience, then you sort of wait for the punchline and audience response, and you then adjust the pacing of your speech. So this year you have none of that. There's no live audience. So when you rehearse, you have to be very conscious that you keep your eye focused on the camera lens, because to the person who's watching the speech, if your eyes sort of dart around too much, then it won't look natural, it won't look sincere. So that's what I had to keep in mind. So it's very much an adjustment of the mindset, where even though you're talking to a laptop, you have to keep telling yourself that you're in fact engaging a live audience, an audience that you can't see. So that took a bit of adjusting, and it was quite challenging, to be honest.
Would you have any tips for people trying out online contests in the future?
When I first started, I was sitting down and I was delivering. I thought there was no difference between when you actually sit down or whether you stand up, or regardless of how far away you are from the camera lens, as long as you have a microphone. But I found there was a huge difference. When I was sitting down, I was much more relaxed and much more comfortable, and therefore looking back at the video of me sitting down delivering a contest speech, I looked too relaxed. So I was getting into the habit of actually getting really comfortable, as opposed to actually being able to move around, which you can't anyway. But when you're delivering a speech, aim to rehearse as if you're going to be standing up and showing just a full the half body, the upper half of your body. And try not to sit down to deliver a contest speech, because whilst the camera would only capture the top half of your body, but to an audience, there's a huge difference between somebody a speaker who's too relaxed, and somebody who's standing up and actually enthusiastically delivering the lines, whilst not being constrained by not having a stage and moving around. But so, by all means, train your eye contact to fix your eye contact to the camera lens. Second of all, stand up to deliver a speech. Gesture comfortably, but don't gesture too much. Look back at the screen if you can, or a replay of your speech, to see how you gesture and whether it looks natural or not. Whether you're overly, gesturing, or you're gesturing to a point where some of your gestures are not being captured by the camera. So you have to be very conscious of how you look at the camera. So much more so than on a stage in which you have to deliver a speech. So constantly look back on yourself on when you're replaying your speech and readjust accordingly.
Many people out there who are curious about joining international speech contests. They want to compete for their country, compete for themselves, but maybe they get nervous in the process, or they're not sure if they'll make it. Do you have any advice for them?
Sure. There's no easy path. There's no shortcut. It's really jumping into the deep end every time you take part in a contest. And I've always said this: is taking part in a speech contest is the quickest way to improve in terms of delivering speeches, because it forces you to invest in a lot more hours to actually write the speech, rehearse the speech, getting feedback and revising your speech. So regardless of whether you take home a trophy or not, that process up front of delivering a contest speech forces you to work twice or three times as hard as you otherwise would, say for example when you deliver a speech in your club. So it's really just jumping into the deep end and tell yourself that I'm going to just keep taking part in speech contest. Although you do try to have a mindset of wanting to be better than the other contestants, of course you have to have a winning mindset. You don't go into a contest and say, I don't care if I lose. So having a winning mindset, but at the same time you must put in the effort to try to be better than you were last time, as well as trying to seek feedback from the audience afterwards or beforehand when you rehearse, getting feedback from other Toastmasters or family members and all that. So it's really, first of all, the first step is to join a contest. Second of all, know that you have a goal in mind. It may not be a trophy, but you must have a goal so that you always seek to be better and improve upon your previous performance, and getting feedback so that how you can actually do better for next time round. The beauty of Toastmasters is that you can't do it alone. There's always a lot of supportive members, be it they give you feedback on your speech or just a WhatsApp to support you. So know that when you join Toastmasters, whether you're doing a leadership role, you're trying to develop your communication skills, taking part in contests, the greatest thing is to have somebody around you, members around you. And the biggest takeaway is that whatever you gain afterwards, always tell yourself that you are willing to give back. So what you've gained from the experience, always be willing to then, from that experience, from what you've learned, then pass it to somebody who's actually up and coming, so that it's a continuous cycle of help mutually supporting one another to improve. So that's the beauty of Toastmasters, and I could never have done it without my family members, fellow members, club members, and other Toastmasters in other clubs, and just a very supportive environment which have allowed me to just keep learning in Toastmasters.
And that too is the beauty of this interview, as you inspire our next generation of international speakers. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Joy.
And we wish you all the best at the regional level.
Thank you. Thank you very much.